Have you ever watched a group of children at play, completely absorbed, laughing without care, inventing games on the spot, and thought to yourself, when did I stop doing that? Maybe it was subtle, a gradual drifting away from play as the decades stacked up. Life got busier, more serious. Responsibilities piled on. Play became something for the young. But here's the truth. Play was never just for children. It's for all of us, at every age. And if you're over 70, play might actually be more important now than ever. Let's be honest. In a world that often equates age with decline, play is a quiet form of rebellion. It's a way to say, I'm still here. I still have joy to give. I still have curiosity, humor, and life inside me. Play isn't about acting childish. It's about staying human. Many older adults start to feel invisible. Their days become structured around routines, doctor appointments, pills, quiet afternoons. But play disrupts that pattern. It invites spontaneity, laughter, and surprise. It reminds us that we are not just managing our days, we're allowed to enjoy them too. In fact, researchers are starting to look closely at what happens when seniors engage in regular, joyful play. The results? They're astonishing. A study from the Mayo Clinic found that seniors who regularly engage in leisure activities like board games, dancing, or even puzzles have a 47% lower risk of developing cognitive decline. That's not magic, it's biology. When you're playing, your brain is firing, your body is moving, and your spirit is lifting. But we don't just play for brain health, or because science says it's good for us. We play because it reminds us who we are. Think about the last time you truly laughed, really laughed. Where were you? Who were you with? What were you doing? Odds are you were playing. In that moment, you weren't your aches or your worries. You weren't thinking about what hurts or what you've lost. You were present, alive. Let me tell you a story. There's a woman named Eleanor, 78 years old, who lives in a small town in Oregon. After her husband passed, she fell into a rhythm that felt more like existing than living. Mornings were quiet, afternoons spent watching TV, evenings blending into one another. Until one day, her neighbor invited her to a community center event, just a simple bingo night. Eleanor almost didn't go. I'm not a bingo person, she'd said, but that night, surrounded by light-hearted teasing, laughter, and the thrill of shouting out, "Bingo!" First, something shifted. It wasn't the game itself, it was the feeling of being part of something again, of letting herself have fun, even just for an hour. Since then, she attends every Thursday night game. But more than that, she started painting again, something she hadn't done in 30 years. I don't know why I stopped, she said once, but I'm so glad I started again. Now let's take a moment to go deeper. Somewhere along the journey of aging, many of us were taught, directly or indirectly, that play is something we outgrow. But that idea is both unfair and untrue. Play is not childish. It's life-giving. It's how we explore new ideas, make emotional connections, and stay resilient. In Okinawa, Japan, a region famous for its large population of healthy centenarians, elders are often seen playing traditional music, singing, crafting, and even engaging in community games well into their 90s. They don't see play as a luxury. They see it as part of a full, vibrant life. And guess what? Their rates of depression and loneliness are among the lowest for older adults worldwide. So let's challenge the belief that growing older means growing dull. Let's ask instead, what kind of play brings me joy now? It doesn't have to be extravagant or silly. For some, play might mean tending a garden and giving each flower a name. For others, it could be a light-hearted card game, or improvising a goofy dance in the kitchen just because the music feels right. It might mean storytelling with grandkids, building a birdhouse, or singing out loud even if the dog looks concerned. The essence of play is presence and pleasure. And pleasure is not a young person's privilege. It's a lifelong right. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I have mobility issues. I don't feel playful anymore. That's okay. You don't have to jump on trampolines or chase a frisbee. Play is not defined by physical ability. It's defined by spirit. Even a playful conversation, a funny hat, a riddle, or a doodle can count. What matters is that you allow joy to have space in your day. Play is also incredibly powerful for connection. Many seniors report feeling more isolated as they age, especially after retirement or the loss of a partner. But playful environments naturally draw people together. It's much easier to make a new friend over a light-hearted game of dominoes than over polite small talk in a doctor's waiting room. In fact, studies show that seniors who participate in playful group activities tend to have higher self-esteem and a greater sense of purpose. And that's no small thing. When we retire or our roles change, we sometimes struggle with the question, where do I still matter? Play can help answer that, not with words, but with shared laughter, small wins, and the feeling of being seen. There's something disarming about play. It lowers our guard. It reminds us that we're not alone in our longing for joy. Whether you're 7 or 87, laughing over a silly pun or a shared mistake can make you feel human again. And speaking of laughter, did you know that it has tangible health benefits? It releases endorphins, relaxes your muscles, lowers stress hormones, and even boosts your immune system. Play is one of the most natural ways to unlock those benefits. It's like free medicine, and the side effects are more joy, better sleep, and a brighter outlook on life. So here's a gentle invitation. Think back to something that used to make you laugh. Maybe it was a game, a craft, a character you used to impersonate, or a quirky hobby you once loved. What if you gave it another try? Or what if you tried something completely new, just for the fun of it? You're not too old for joy. You're not too late for laughter. The door to play is always open, and it has no age limit. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and stay with me until the end. You might hear something that brings you peace, clarity, or even hope. Because in the next part, we'll look at something truly fascinating. How playful activities can keep your brain sharp and your mood lifted. Sometimes even better than puzzles or memory games. It's easy to think of play as something frivolous, something fun, but ultimately unimportant. But neuroscience tells a very different story. When we play, something remarkable happens in the brain. Circuits that are responsible for creativity, decision-making, memory, and emotional regulation all light up. Play doesn't just entertain us. It rewires and refreshes our minds. As we age, maintaining cognitive sharpness becomes a priority. Forgetting names, misplacing keys, or losing track of conversations can be frustrating and even frightening. But here's the good news. Engaging in playful activities is one of the most enjoyable ways to strengthen your brain. Think of it as a workout, but for your memory and focus. Researchers at Stanford University found that seniors who regularly engaged in playful problem-solving games, like word puzzles, board games, and storytelling, showed improved attention span and mental flexibility after just 6 weeks. That's a short time for such a powerful result. But the benefits don't stop at mental sharpness. play has a profound effect on mood and emotional health. Let's take a closer look. When you engage in playful activities, your brain releases chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, the same feel-good messengers involved in pleasure and motivation. These chemicals are often diminished in people experiencing depression or chronic stress, which are unfortunately common among older adults. Play can help bring those levels back into balance naturally. That means more joy, more laughter, more moments that feel worth waking up for. Imagine a woman named Clara, age 74. She'd always been a serious, practical person, an accountant by trade, always organized, always prepared. But after retiring, she found herself restless and slightly lost. The structure she once thrived in had disappeared. Days blended into one another. Then one day, her daughter invited her to a community storytelling night. At first, Clara declined. "I'm not a performer," she said, but after a little coaxing, she attended, just to listen. And something shifted. Hearing other seniors share funny, heartfelt, even silly stories reminded her of something she hadn't felt in years: delight. The next week, she shared her own tale about a disastrous attempt to cook Thanksgiving dinner in the 1980s. The room roared with laughter. And Clara? She lit up. That one evening turned into a regular tradition. Today, she volunteers to coach others on how to craft and share their stories. She says it keeps her sharp, keeps her smiling, and best of all, keeps her connected. That's the magic of play. It creates not just joy, but identity. It reminds us that we are more than our aches, our diagnoses, or our past titles. We are still storytellers, still jokesters, still curious souls. And don't underestimate the power of laughter itself. Laughter, often a byproduct of playful moments, has been shown to improve blood flow to the brain, reduce muscle tension, and even increase pain tolerance. One study from Loma Linda University found that watching a 20-minute comedy video significantly improved short-term memory scores in seniors compared to a control group. The researchers called it laughercise. So go ahead, giggle at a pun, chuckle at a joke. Let yourself feel silly for a second. It's not weakness, it's healing. Now, let's address a common concern. I'm not good at games. I never was. That's okay. Play doesn't have to mean competition. It doesn't have to mean scorekeeping or rules. It can be as simple as imaginative conversation, role-playing with grandchildren, or joining a local improv group where there are no scripts, only spontaneous creativity. In fact, improvisation is gaining attention in the field of cognitive health. A growing number of senior centers and even memory care programs are using improv as a tool to increase engagement and boost self-esteem. There are no right answers, no pressure to remember lines, just presence, playfulness, and the freedom to try something new in the moment. And it's not just the brain that benefits. Emotionally, play helps us stay flexible. It teaches us to adapt, to bounce back, and to be okay with not having all the answers. In other words, it builds resilience, something we all need more of, especially in the face of loss, change, or uncertainty. There's also an often overlooked benefit of play. It creates anticipation. Knowing that you have something fun planned, even something small, can make the day feel lighter. Whether it's a game night, a Zoom call with playful grandkids, or just time to tinker with a hobby you love, anticipation boosts mood and motivation. The next point is something most people never hear about, but it could completely change how you feel. It's the idea that play can heal emotional wounds. Think back to childhood. For many of us, play was the first way we coped with confusion, fear, or sadness. We played house to understand family dynamics. We drew pictures to express things we couldn't say. We climbed trees to feel brave. As adults, we may lose that instinct, but the capacity is still there. Therapists who work with seniors often use play-based reminiscence to help clients reconnect with joy. This might involve revisiting old hobbies, acting out favorite songs, or even using toys like building blocks to reconstruct happy memories. It sounds simple, but the impact can be profound. Reclaiming play helps us access a version of ourselves untouched by regret or pain. One elderly man, age 82, who had struggled with grief after losing his wife, found unexpected relief through a ukulele class at his local senior center. At first, he barely spoke, but with each lesson, each new chord, he began to smile again. By the end of the season, he performed in front of a small group. When asked how it felt, he said, "For the first time in 2 years, I felt like myself." Play won't erase grief. It won't undo loss. But it can gently create space around the pain. Space where laughter, hope, and even lightness can breathe again. So if you've felt foggy, heavy, or emotionally flat lately, you're not alone. And you're not broken. You might just need more play, not more responsibilities, more to-do lists, just more joy, more surprise, more ways to light up your mind and uplift your mood. You are not done growing, not done creating, not done laughing, and certainly not done playing. Let's keep going. What comes next might surprise you. In Part 3, we'll explore how play improves physical health, even if you struggle with pain or mobility, and how it can become the most enjoyable way to stay active without forcing yourself to exercise. If you've ever groaned at the thought of exercise, you're not alone. For many older adults, traditional workouts can feel like a burden, another item on the to-do list that requires motivation, energy, and often discomfort. But what if there were a way to move your body, improve your balance, boost your circulation, and protect your joints without ever thinking of it as exercise? That's exactly what play can do. Playful movement is movement with joy. It's not about repetitions or sweat. It's about spontaneity, laughter, and flow. And here's the beautiful thing. Your body doesn't care whether you're in a gym or in your living room tossing a beanbag with your grandchild. Movement is movement. What matters is that you're doing it and enjoying it enough to come back for more. As we age, our muscles naturally weaken, our joints stiffen, and our balance becomes more fragile. These changes are normal, but they're not unchangeable. In fact, studies have shown that even gentle, playful physical activities can lead to improvements in flexibility, mobility, coordination, and even cardiovascular health. Take something as simple as dancing. A 2020 study in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that older adults who participated in twice-weekly social dance classes showed significant improvements in gait, posture, and lower body strength compared to those who walked on a treadmill for the same amount of time. The dancers also reported more enjoyment, which translated into better consistency and longer-term results. That's the secret. Enjoyment leads to sustainability. If you dread an activity, you're less likely to do it. But if it makes you laugh, even just a little, you're more likely to stick with it. That's where playful movement shines. Let's meet Harold. Harold is 81, and like many his age, he struggles with arthritis in his knees. He used to be a runner, but those days are long behind him. His doctor recommended physical therapy and light exercise, but Harold couldn't stand the thought of rehab workouts. Then his granddaughter introduced him to Wii Bowling, a motion-controlled video game where you mimic the movement of bowling using a small remote. He was skeptical. "I don't play video games," he said, but he gave it a try. And within minutes, he was laughing, lunging, shifting his weight, and bending his knees, gently, but with real engagement. A week later, he bought the system for himself. Now, every evening after dinner, he plays a few rounds. His mobility has improved, but more importantly, so has his mood. Harold isn't exercising, he's playing, and his body thanks him for it. Play also reduces the pressure to perform. Unlike structured workouts that can sometimes feel discouraging or intimidating, playful movement allows for imperfection. There's no wrong way to toss a ring, sway to a song, or mimic animal movements in a silly game. The goal isn't to win, it's to participate. This mindset is particularly helpful for those with chronic pain or limited mobility. Instead of pushing through discomfort, play invites us to explore movement in ways that feel good. Whether it's seated balloon volleyball, gentle Tai Chi in the park, or even pretending to be a tree swaying in the wind with a grandchild, it all counts. There's also a hidden benefit to playful movement: reflex training. As we get older, reaction time slows, which can increase the risk of falls. But many play-based activities like catch, rhythm games, or even simple ball tosses require quick adjustments and balance shifts. Practicing these in a fun, low-stakes environment helps keep your nervous system sharp. And then there's laughter. Don't underestimate the physical power of a good belly laugh. It engages your core muscles, stimulates your heart and lungs, and even increases oxygen intake. Combine laughter with light movement, and you've got a full-body workout without ever calling it that. Let's not forget gardening either. Often overlooked, gardening is a deeply playful form of physical activity. Digging, reaching, carrying, kneeling, it engages the whole body. It also nurtures the mind and spirit, connecting you to the rhythms of nature and the joy of nurturing life. What about water play? Water aerobics might sound clinical, but turn it into a pool noodle jousting match or a floating ring challenge with friends, and suddenly it becomes fun again. Buoyancy reduces joint stress, and the social laughter makes the time fly. And yes, even pretend play can be physically beneficial. Seniors who volunteer to play act in local theater groups, dress up for costume bingo nights, or organize scavenger hunts in their community, report higher energy levels. Not because the activities are intense, but because they make people feel alive. The more we enjoy moving, the more we move. The more we move, the healthier we become. And this is the key message. Play breaks the myth that health must be hard. You don't have to run marathons, lift weights, or power through soreness to support your body after 70. What you need is consistency, variety, and just enough joy to keep showing up. Here are a few ideas to inspire you. Balloon tennis in the living room with grandkids. Pet play, gentle fetch, or walking a dog with zigzag paths. Chair dancing to your favorite tunes from the 60s or 70s. Gentle stretching games like Simon Says with a twist. Sidewalk chalk art, or hopscotch with neighbors or family. Tabletop ping pong for hand-eye coordination and fun. None of these require gym memberships or athletic wear. What they require is curiosity, willingness, and a little courage to look silly. And honestly, looking silly is part of the joy. Movement that brings joy is movement that heals. It becomes a celebration of what your body can do, not a punishment for what it can't. So if you've been avoiding movement because of pain, fatigue, or shame, consider this your gentle invitation back into motion, not as a patient, not as someone with a diagnosis, but as a person, a player, a human being who deserves to feel vibrant and free. Now that we've moved our bodies and lifted our spirits, let's go even deeper. In the final part of our journey, we'll explore how play can spark purpose, build lasting community, and help you feel truly alive, not just active. Think back to the last time you laughed so hard you forgot what time it was. The kind of laugh that shook your shoulders, that caught you off guard, that reminded you of who you used to be. Before all the responsibilities, before the losses, before the labels like senior, retired, or aging. That kind of laughter? That's not just joy, that's vitality. And often, it's born from play. You see, play isn't just an activity. It's a mindset, a way of moving through the world that says, I'm still curious. I still want to connect. I still want to feel alive. And when you bring that mindset into your everyday life, everything changes. Many older adults struggle with something that's rarely talked about: loss of identity after retirement. You've spent decades being someone's coworker, someone's partner, someone's parent. But what happens when those roles shift or disappear? It can feel disorienting, like a beautiful map with no clear destination. Play helps redraw that map, not by erasing the past, but by helping you reconnect with who you are underneath the titles. Maybe you're someone who tells great stories, someone who's goofy in the best way, someone who once loved music, games, or building things just for the fun of it. Those parts of you, they're not gone. They're just waiting for an invitation. And often, play is the invitation. Let me tell you about Joyce. Joyce is 76, widowed, and had lived in the same home for over 40 years. When her children moved away and her husband passed, she began spending more and more time alone. She'd go days without speaking to anyone but the cashier at the grocery store. Her doctor mentioned her blood pressure was rising, and her mood was dipping. One day, her local library started a monthly laughter, yoga, and games morning. She hesitated. "I don't know anyone there," she said, but she went anyway. They played silly name games, passed balloons, did exaggerated breathing exercises. It was awkward at first, but then came the laughter. Real, unfiltered, shoulder-shaking laughter. For the first time in months, she didn't feel invisible. She felt part of something. Now, she's the first one to arrive and the last to leave. She even started organizing monthly trivia nights for her neighborhood. "I thought I was fading," she said. "Turns out, I just needed a place to play." That's the power of community through play. You don't need to be surrounded by dozens of people. Sometimes, it just takes one playful moment to feel connected again. A shared laugh, a wink over a board game, a goofy dance move at the senior center. These are the threads that tie us to each other and to ourselves. And let's not forget, play gives us purpose. Yes, purpose, a word we often associate with big achievements or lifelong goals. But in reality, purpose can be beautifully simple. It can be knowing that someone looks forward to seeing you on game night, that your presence brings joy to a community garden, that your quirky jokes make others smile. One man, Frank, 84, joined a neighborhood storytelling circle that meets every Thursday. At first, he just listened, but eventually, he started sharing tales from his youth, some funny, some heartbreaking, some completely absurd. Now, people come just to hear his stories. "It's given me a reason to put on a nice shirt again," he laughs, "and something to look forward to every week." That's purpose. That's vitality. And that's exactly what play nurtures. In fact, seniors who engage in meaningful, socially playful activities report higher levels of life satisfaction and lower rates of depression. Researchers call this recreational identity reinforcement, but we can just call it feeling human again. You see, play keeps us grounded, even when life changes, even when our bodies slow down, even when we say goodbye to people we love. It reminds us that joy isn't reserved for youth, that connection doesn't have an expiration date, that laughter doesn't care how many candles were on your last birthday cake. And here's the thing, it's never too late to start, never too late to learn how to play pickleball, or to join a seniors improv group, or to paint for the first time since childhood, or to organize a family game night where everyone puts their phones away and just plays. Even 5 minutes of play a day can begin to shift your mindset. It's not about doing more. It's about feeling more alive in the moments you already have. So what does this look like in practice? Maybe you start with a weekly puzzle at your kitchen table, one that friends or family can add to when they visit. Maybe you keep a deck of cards handy, or a journal of jokes. Maybe you host a monthly Try Something Silly afternoon at your senior center, where people can play musical chairs or paint rocks with funny faces. Maybe you challenge your neighbor to see who can come up with the most outrageous limerick about turnips. Play doesn't need permission. It needs a spark, a choice, a yes. So here's your invitation. What would happen if you said yes to play this week? What if you gave yourself the freedom to laugh a little more freely? To try something new, even if you're bad at it? To remember that you are not done growing, loving, laughing, or connecting. You are not done being surprised by life. And you are not too old to be playful. In fact, it's your playfulness that will keep you young, not your birth certificate. So the next time you find yourself staring at the TV or scrolling mindlessly through your phone, ask yourself, what would feel fun right now? What would bring me even 5 minutes of joy? Then go do that. Because you deserve joy, not just in theory, but in practice. You deserve connection, not just through memories, but in the here and now. You deserve to play, not because you're trying to stay young, but because play is how we stay human. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you feel inspired. I hope you feel seen. And above all, I hope you feel like saying yes to play, in whatever way feels right for you.